Hey, led by Nick Chubb in the running back group here. And listen, the news only got better this week, Barry. Unfortunate for the Steelers, but fortunate for Nick Chubb. Cam Hayward obviously not playing this game. Cam Hayward expected to basically miss the first half of this NFL season. You love Nick Chubb in week 2.
Well, first off, San Francisco had their way with the Steelers in terms of the run game. 188 rushing yards. They give up 5.5 yards per carry in week number 1. Now, some of that's skewed by the big run that McCaffrey had, but still, the fact of the matter is that the Niners had their way with the Steelers defense, and now they get worse with Cam Hayward out. Nick Chubb, look, we talked about this in sort of my in kind of the takeaways from week 1, and that, it wasn't a ton. But Nick Chubb got 4 targets. He caught all 4. He actually, believe it or not, was 3rd on the Browns in targets, after Cooper and Elijah Moore on Sunday. So that 13.8% target share last week, the second highest of his career in a single game over the past 4 seasons for Nick Chubb. And so Nick Chubb, who's going to get a lot of work, suddenly has at least a small involvement in the passing game and gets what you'd think would be a better than what you might think matchup with the Steelers that struggled against the run last week and now has no Cam Hayward. He's a top 5 running back for me. I think some people might think, on the road at Pittsburgh and an AFC North divisional battle, like I might downgrade Nick Chubb. No. I'm not downgrading. I'm upgrading him this week.
It's a little weird that Jerome Ford got 15 carries last week against Cincinnati.
They killed him. Joe Burrow couldn't complete a pass. They killed him.
It was a very good game script, though, for Nick Chubb. We don't see him get 25, 26 carries, and we thought that was because of Kareem Hunt. But if they're going to be using Jerome Ford as well, look, I agree. That is mitigated by the fact that they're using him more in the passing game. But I would like to see Nick Chubb just have like a 25-carry game and just be kind of run into the ground in the second half to ice away a game. It doesn't seem like they use him like that.
I'm not willing. That was such a weird game. Cincinnati was so brutal in that game. I'm not willing to think about that. And I think one of the things that we talked about in the offseason was we expect, now again, it's all up to Watson, right? But we expect this Browns offense to be more efficient than they were last year. We expect them to be better, to be more up-tempo, to be in scoring position more often under Deshaun Watson. In theory, a good Deshaun Watson versus Jacoby Brissett last year. And so I think one of the things that we talked about in the offseason about Nick Chubb is like, listen, he may only touch the ball 15 times a game versus 22. But it's going to be a lot more. Efficient. He's going to see a lot less loaded boxes because they now suddenly have to respect the passing game in a way that they didn't before. And so I'm not worried about Nick Chubb's usage. And honestly, like if you're telling me he's going to get 15 carries and 4 receptions a game, I will take that all day, every day.
Yep.
Yeah, part of me wonders, too, as Watson's struggles continue, he did not have a good first half in that game. He didn't look comfortable throwing the ball. Yes, it was raining. That probably helps Nick Chubb in the passing game because he's an outlet. He's an outlet with soft hands for Deshaun Watson. So we'll see if that passing game usage continues. One player we know the passing game usage is always there is Ramondre Stevenson.
My wife has never referred to me as an outlet with soft hands. And now I'm thinking about that, and I'm just going to bring that up to her. I'm going to bring that up just because that's my love language. I'm going to say, like, could you just every once in a while just, when you're talking with your girlfriends, my husband is. He's an outlet with soft hands. That's all I'm asking.
All right.
That's all I'm asking.
A guy that we know is an outlet with soft hands. Ramondre Stevenson. How about that next up on the love list here, Jay?
I have a soft belly. That's something.
I've lost it.
Yes.
Lost it.
Jay, you're back.
Right,
the show's back off the rails.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You want to talk about Ramondre Stevenson?
Not really. We can just actually go to James Cook. No, but seriously, Ramondre Stevenson, he has the Dolphins in week 2. Vic Fangio is actually pretty public this week that he felt like he didn't do enough to prepare his defense for the Chargers rushing attack. We saw Eckler. Right. We saw Kelly have a big day. And now, Jay, Ramondre Stevenson makes the love list. He comes in as RB11 for Barry this week, facing that Dolphins run defense.
Yeah, and the key was Ezekiel Elliott going to vulture all the third down, short yardage work and goal line work? No, Ramondre still got work there, and the fact that the Dolphins were so gashed, that looks like a way that you could potentially attack their defense. You look at the snap rate there, Ramondre Stevenson playing 74% of snaps. I mean, if that maintains for the season, then you're looking at an RB1.
By the way, he also saw both snaps inside the 10-yard line. It's a good matchup against the Dolphins. You mentioned Vic Fangio said they wasn't, prepared enough, but it's 1 week. Like, I don't know if you're not building Rome in a week, you're not fixing it. They allowed 255 total yards and 2 touchdowns to the Chargers running backs in week 1. Miami's allowed the 6th most receiving yards to running backs since the start of last season. So we talked about this. Ramondre Stevenson played 75% of the third downs for the Patriots on Sunday. And you know what Ramondre Stevenson did not do on Sunday? Fumble. He didn't fumble. You know what Zeke did? He did fumble. Now, here's my question to you guys. Since that fumble, has anyone actually seen Ezekiel Elliott? or do we think he's somewhere in the New Jersey Badlands? He's under dirt. I'm just saying,
it's a fair
Coach
point.
Belichick does not like running backs who fumble.
We do not have confirmation on that yet. Keep an eye on Ezekiel Elliott in practice this week.
He might be MIA. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that, he had a very good game last week. The concerns on Ezekiel Elliott were overblown. People who bought the dip on Ramondre Stevenson were rewarded, and I think he'll be rewarded again this week. He's a top 12 play for me in week 2.
Staying in the AFC East running back picture, James Cook makes the love list. James Cook, of course, handled a lot of the work, 80% of the running back carries for the Bills in week 1 against the Jets. James Cook looked good in this game. Despite the Bills kind of getting away from the run game in the second half, it felt like at times, Barry. You seem pretty excited about James Cook. He lands in your top 15 running backs for week number 2. And, hey, that matchup, can't ask for much more there.
You can't ask better for a matchup for the Raiders, as Las Vegas allowed 131 total yards to running backs in week number 1 as well. I agree with you. James Cook looked better. He looked like the best Cook brother on that field as well. His 15% target share, by the way, for the Bills, second highest on the team. He got 6 targets. Now, I think some of that is credit to the secondary of the Jets, but make no mistake, Josh Allen not scared to dump it off to James Cook and make him a part of the passing game. 80% of the running back carries in week 1 for Buffalo went to James Cook as well. And so in a much more positive game script, I think the Bills kill him. Honestly, I think, they get back on track and, listen, nice gutty win for the Raiders in week number 1, but I think reality's coming in an angry Josh Allen.
Yeah. Bills are 8.5-point favorites, so you'd expect a pretty favorable game script. And I think as well, Cook had an underwhelming game in terms of fantasy production, but again, we're so biased by week 1 because that's all that we've seen. That's 100% of the sample size, and so everyone is just, completely writing off the Giants and writing off the Steelers. Like, those teams played maybe the best defenses in the league, and the Bills played the Jets, who also have an argument for the best defense in the league. So most of the time, it should be easier going for James Cook, and the usage that he got is very encouraging.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jay, in terms of, it's week 1. My love-hate column will be up in just a little bit on NBCSports.com, rotoworld.com, 100% free as always. I'm a company man. And one of the points I made, it's a fun story that I think you guys will like, but one of the points I made about, hey, it's just week 1, just a year ago at this time, when we were heading into week 2 of the 2022 season, among the top 10 running backs in week number 1 were Dontrell Hilliard and James Robinson, who later that year would be without an NFL team. I'm just, you know what I mean? It's 1 week. We're on to week 2. We're on to Cincinnati. Again, just if you had a bad week, right? If you're sitting there what I do drafting, Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or T. Higgins or Dallas Goedert or, Lamar Jackson who had a bad game. It's fine.
Maybe the Drake London one, though, is a little real.
Drake London, that one's real. That one you're allowed to panic on. But seriously, after week 1 last year, the third best quarterback in fantasy was Carson Wentz. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I may have brought that up.
Now he's in the New Jersey Badlands looking for Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, exactly. Hoping for a gig.
Rex Burkhead.
Zeke or a job.
Yeah. Rex Burkhead was RB1 for the Texans week 1 last year. The Bears beat the 49ers 19-10, I think. Weird stuff happens.
Weird stuff happens. Others receiving votes very quickly. Just Rachaad White, I know he was brutal in week number 1, but the usage was there, 19 touches, and now he gets a Bears team that allowed 185 yards and 2 touchdowns to running backs in week number 1. Hey, James Conner is on the field, right? He had an almost 20% target share last week, second highest on the team. His 83% snap rate in week 1 as well. Good matchup against the Giants. Have him as a top 20 play. And how about A.J. Dillon? 15 touches in week 1. Aaron Jones has that hamstring injury. We don't know if he's going to be playing or even 100%. Falcons did allow 167 total yards to running backs in week number 1. Those are those guys that are others receiving votes. And how about Jahmyr Gibbs? I get it. It was disappointing last week, but now he gets that was week 1. On the road at the Super Bowl champions. We expected low usage there. The game script worked in favor of David Montgomery, but now the Lions 1-0. They want to get Gibbs. My impression of Gibbs was similar to what I saw from Breece Hall in week 1, where I know it was limited usage, but you were like, wow. And I know he didn't run for 90 yards on one play, but it was the same thing where he just sort of popped off the screen. and this week against Seattle, which just got completely bulldozed by Kieran Williams and Cam Akers, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 20 play this week.
Yep, I agree. I'm concerned about David Montgomery. I think there's room for both of those guys to provide value, but I'm almost more concerned about Montgomery blocking Gibbs' upside than I am Dalvin Cook blocking Breece Hall, because I think that Breece Hall will just become the guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think David Montgomery's going to get a lot of work no matter what.
There's no question about that. I mean, and it's one of the reasons why both guys, Gibbs and Montgomery, were on my love list in the preseason. But what I will say is, what the Lions want to do, that's what they want to run the ball. Yep. The strength of that team is that offensive line. They want both guys involved. And so my point is that you literally I'm just telling you, you have 2 days. You have until Sunday afternoon to trade low for Jahmyr Gibbs, because after that, you're not getting him at all.
Yep. That line is down to Detroit -4.5 home to Seattle. That's too small for me.
Yeah.
I think that'll get bigger.
Yes, it should.
Moving over to the hate list for running backs, you mentioned Cam Akers. His matchup gets just a little bit harder this week. He's got the 49ers, Barry. He barely sneaks into your top 40 running backs for that matchup.
Yeah, we're short on time, so he's playing San Francisco. And by the way, he might not even be the starter on his own team. There you go. Let's move on. I hate to admit it, but Brian Robinson. You know I love Brian Robinson. The dude came back from being shot. I will never doubt Brian Robinson. I will say, though, it's the second lowest implied team total in week number 2, so we don't expect a lot of scoring in this game against the Broncos. Denver allowed 2.1 yards per carry in week number 1 as well. I think the touchdown was a little fluky. It was probably intended for Logan Thomas when you go back and watch the tape, right? But Robinson sort of stepped in front of it and caught it, got into the end zone here. I have him just as running back 30 there. And also, a lot of Dalvin Cook talked so far. He also makes the hate list as well. Look, it's Dallas, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is Dalvin Cook was not the best running back on his team on Monday night, and now a second week into the season. He had just 53% of the team's running back touches last week, averaged 3.7 yards per touch, while, Breece Hall averaged over 13 yards per touch, skewed by that big run. But still, to the eye test, Breece Hall is, we thought Breece Hall would be the better running back midway through the season. Breece Hall's the better running back right now. Yeah. And, my expectation is on the road at Dallas, the Cowboys are going to say, we'll take our chances with Zach Wilson beating us. We're stacking the box. We're not going to let you run all over us.
Yeah, they have to.
Yep. On the accidental Brian Robinson touchdown, kind of conspicuously less future Hall of Fame chat from Matthew Berry around Sam Howell after Sam Howell went 19 of 31 against the Cardinals.
Fact of the matter, Sam Howell's actually on the hate list this week too. But he's not. I can't put him on the hate list, but he's definitely lower in my rankings. But look, he has a chance to become the first quarterback in NFL history to have a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in each of his first 3 NFL games. He did it against Dallas last year. He did it against the Cardinals in week 1, so he's got a chance to do it again this week against the Denver Broncos as well. Listen, the road to the Hall of Fame is not, not always paved with gold. Peyton Manning, I think led the league in interceptions his first year in the league.
It's true. Sam Howell is on that Peyton Manning career track. There's no doubt about it.
It to Commander's Ring of Honor, Sam Howell first. Yeah. And then if he, outplays expectations, we could make it Hall of Fame.
Let's just make it, he can be the best
Washington
Commanders.
The Commanders have a Ring of Honor, right?
The Commanders have a Ring of Honor.
That's a nice ring to it.
Absolutely.
Sam Howell, future Commanders Ring of Honor.
I think
future Hall of Famer.
We reorient expectations so he can be the best Washington Commanders quarterback since that run that Todd Collins had back in 2007 or whatever, where he looked really good.
You know what? Listen. RG3's rookie year was legitimately great, and Kirk Cousins definitely had some very good moments.
Yes,
he did. So it has been a while since we've seen Kirk. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.